What's going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of the Speak Up Sports Podcast with Cass, Chris, and Shy. What's going on, fellas?
What's up, y'all? What's up?
What's up?
Shit, another day, another week back at it. We had the NBA, obviously, in Banner Night. Chris got his Celtics shirt on. Had the Banner Night for the Celtics last night. Obviously, another week of the NFL. Again, another great week. We saw Lamar Jackson put on another marvelous performance. Obviously, we got a Super Bowl rematch. Some tough injuries, and once again, we're back to start off with a trade that just happened this morning. With Deandre Hopkins going to the Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, we've seen nothing but receivers really get traded. We did see a linebacker get traded to the or two linebackers get traded between the Seahawks and the Titans as well, in Ernest Jones and Jerome Baker. But obviously, the biggest news is the D-Hop trade. So how do you guys feel about that, given that Kansas City finally made a move? And what do you guys think the outlook is for them moving forward?
This felt like a move they had to make, with their receiver injuries and just the lack of weapons on offense. Especially right now, Travis Kelce isn't really, he's not producing like you would normally see him produce. Rashee Rice is hurt. Hollywood Brown is hurt. You have a rookie receiver in Xavier Worthy. So I mean, it was a move that needed to be made. I know we all seen the just the news of them possibly trying to get Cooper Kupp at the time, but not deal not really going through for them. But I'm interested to see what DeAndre Hopkins. This felt like a move that people were trying to link to them after DeAndre was with the Cardinals. Yeah, it was a move that many had linked with them, and it just never happened. So it's good to see it happen finally. But I'm interested to see, do he still got something left in the tank? I mean, we could chalk it up to, maybe bad quarterback play in Tennessee, so we don't really know if he still got it like that. But Mahomes gonna give him the ball, so we're gonna see if he, makes something work for them.
I love it. I love it for them, man. I think people forget, like he's coming off a season where he had 1,000 yards last year, and that's with their 3 quarterbacks that they played throughout the season. 75 catches, 1,000 yards. So I mean, he still has some left, even though he is 32. I can't wait to see it. I don't think like Patrick Mahomes hasn't really had a receiver like that before, even though he is older. I think he can still produce. I think Andy Reid is gonna love having him.
What do you mean never had a receiver like that? Whoa, hold up.
He never had a receiver. He never had a receiver like with the ball skills that DeAndre Hopkins has. Who?
Tyreek
Hill don't have ball skills like that, huh?
I guess
Tyreek Hill don't have ball skills like DeAndre Hopkins.
I guess if you want to say that, sure.
I mean, we're talking about catch rate.
Just jump
for sure.
Can we talk about catch? That's what I'm talking about.
Sure.
Catch rate.
I mean, that's part of it too.
Okay, we continue.
Yes. Okay. No, but I am interested to see what they do. I think it's a great addition for them. Definitely puts them back up there. Their passing offense can definitely boost that, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see going forward, like if they can, make it translate. But I like it.
I'm not a fan of it for them at all. Honestly, I'm not. I get it. It's a low trade. I mean, obviously they're not giving up too much. It's a conditional fifth that could turn into 4. But as Cass mentioned, D-Hop did go over 1,000 yards last year, but it was a smidge over 1,000 yards last year as well. Which I mean is no shame on him. Obviously, he did have a bunch of quarterbacks once again, like Cass mentioned. But thus far this year hasn't even cracked 200 yards. It's been 6-7 games. Obviously, he's had an influx of offensive talent with Tony Pollard coming over there, Calvin Ridley, who obviously hasn't done too much either. And then, the quarterback play in terms of Will Levis and Mason Rudolph over the past, couple weeks that Mason Rudolph has filled in for Will. He still only has 173 yards. Like I said, hasn't cracked 200 yet. I'm not, I don't want to say that he's washed because obviously, like Cass said, he, he is a former, or he has been a great receiver in this league. I don't want to say former yet, but over the past 4 seasons, only cracking 1,000 yards one season, which was last year, which is his only fully healthy season last year. This offseason, I want to say that he did also have a knee surgery. So, he clearly is slowing down to some extent. Now, how much that is, we don't know. We saw Juju get 100 yards with this team just a couple weeks ago. So, there is a good chance that, like you said, Pat starts to feed him. He's able to get open. He doesn't necessarily offer the run after the catch that Rashee Rice does, or even Juju to an extent, because that's kind of been Juju's role in his entire career. He's not much of a separator as well. So to Cass's point, in terms of not having a receiver like that, it will be interesting to see, that change and that dynamic, especially with Pat also not necessarily playing. I don't want to say he's been playing bad, but he is leading the league in interceptions at the same time. So it's like, he hasn't been bad, but he hasn't been great. And it's been, a season and a half at this point where he's been really a mediocre quarterback. No disrespect to him, not saying that he's not possibly the best quarterback in the league, but we'll see how that fits in terms of, like I said, without that separation. So, but in terms of the 3 receivers that have now been traded, or the 3 top receivers that have now been traded, revisiting our question from last week, do you guys, in terms of the value now that you've seen the D-Hop versus the Devontae Adams and Amari Cooper, would you guys change how you feel in terms? I think we all kind of agreed, and really everybody kind of agreed that Amari Cooper was maybe the best in terms of what you gave up and the value that he can be. Do you guys think that has changed with the D-Hop? Would you put D-Hop at the top, or find him at the bottom or in the middle?
That's a good question.
That is a good question.
I think I'm still settled on Amari being the better of the trades in general. Especially, I think it's situational for them. Like Josh really, I ain't gonna say he really needed, but it was good to get him an actual number one, and
you saw it instantly in this game on Sunday. Yeah,
and I don't know. Is who's older? Do anyone of y'all know? Is D-Hop older?
D-Hop
is
D-Hop
and
probably
Devontae Adams, I think, are the same.
Yeah, I know Devontae. Yeah. I was trying to see about D-Hop, but yeah, they both. The value for all of them, for the most part, is within reason. Maybe not Devontae Adams, maybe not paying a 3 for that, but I still would pick the Amari Cooper trade to be the better out of the 3.
Yeah, I'm still with Amari Cooper trade as well. I think D-Hop's acquisition could come to fruition more in the playoffs, but really Amari too, honestly. Now I'm gonna stick with Amari. I got D-Hop second, though, and then Devontae last, like to the order that you kind of alluded to. That's what I got, and I think it's. Devontae, we'll talk about it too when we get to like the weekend recap. But like Devontae Adams, you can only do so much, you know what I mean, and you got 9 targets, 3 catches. Of course, that was just the first game, and that's against a good defense. But impact-wise, I think Cooper's still at the top. What do you think, Shad?
Yeah, I think, I just think given the situations, I also agree with Amari Cooper. And I also think that it kind of played out. We can kind of segue that into the weekend recap as well. But I think it kind of played out this weekend. First game for both Amari and Devontae Adams. Obviously, Devontae Adams had the Sunday night game, so it was the marquee, the one that everybody was watching. Like you mentioned, 3 catches, 30 yards. Amari Cooper had 4 catches for 66 yards and a touchdown. Obviously, the clip that's been going viral between him and Keon Coleman, we don't know necessarily if they were talking about what route should he run or not. Keon said that that's not what the case was, but other people were saying, opposite of that. So that was a pretty funny moment, though. But if that was true, that's always something funny that the NFL films that they catch on the sidelines and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't want to, like I said, I'm not a big fan of the D-Hop trade. I would have, Chris, you mentioned it, the Cooper Kupp, that would have been one that I would have been like, okay, hey, it might be a problem, even given Cooper Kupp's injuries, just because I felt like he might have been a more seamless fit into that Kansas City offense. But we'll see. I still probably would agree with you, like you said, where it's 1 Amari, 2 D Hop, and 3 Devontae Adams. Just given the situation, 3 game losing streak, fired your head coach. It does not seem like it's good over there. And now they talk about the media. Can't listen to the media. A couple weeks ago, it was we gotta be able to sift through and take the praise that the media is given. Now it's like, oh, we can't listen to the media at all. So it's weird. Aaron Rodgers is coming up with every type of excuse or explanation, whichever route you want to choose, for why they are losing. We have heard some stuff about. I don't know if you guys saw this, but one of the reporters Tony Pauline, I believe, if I'm saying his last name right, came out and said that the Jets locker room, there have been some anonymous people that feel like the wind has been taken out of the room. So we will kind of see how that plays out. You can see it kind of during the
game. They really expected to win that game. Like they had no doubt in their mind they were going to win that game, and you can see it on the sideline, just like their energy.
And I mean, sticking with that game, it obviously was a Sunday night game, Pittsburgh versus New York Jets. I agree, because they did the Jets came out and it started off fast. I mean, it looked good. Aaron was connected with Devontae Adams early. He was connected with Garrett Wilson. And honestly, if Garrett Wilson doesn't have that one pass bounce off of his shoulder pads, I don't know. I'm not going to say that they would have won that game, because, I mean, it got ugly quick. But, it might not have been as ugly as it was. But what did you guys think of the game in general, Russ's performance, after the back and forth, whether he should have started, Justin Fields should have started? How did you guys feel about
that? Kind of like you said, they started off hot on the Jet side. On Russ's start, it started off like a little slow, and it had Twitter and everybody like, okay, why did you bench Fields, to get this? But it's funny, like on the broadcast, they kind of nailed it. Like, you got to take your shots, especially if you're Russell Wilson. Like, we all know Russ is good at throwing the ball deep outside the numbers, and they have a receiver in Pickens that can win most of those jump balls, and that definitely showed up starting in the second quarter and pretty much for the rest of the game. Like, after those first 2 catches, Pittsburgh defense started playing a little different. And that's when that's when Russ started getting the groove, and it kind of just worked. He found underneath. He found, Najee had a good game. So, I mean, for Russell Wilson, that was like the perfect game you can have for your first game in Pittsburgh. That was like prime time. Like, you got to, after everything that he went through, and then all the uncertainty, I guess you could say, going into this season, like what his role is, that was a perfect game you can have. Will it continue? We'll see. But shout out to Russ for that, because I had him on the hot seat last week, and he definitely showed up this time, for real.
I mean, Russell, he came in and did what he needed to do to win the game. I mean, in my opinion, I'm not going to say that Justin Fields would have put up any kind of numbers like that, or the score would have been the same. But I feel like they would have won that game either way. The Jets, they in a turning point of their season right now. They really gotta win these. They gotta win some more games. They can't afford to lose any more games. But I mean, shout out to Russ. I mean, and it helps. You got a good running game. I mean, the only time Najee Harris did hit 100 yards was a week prior, and we've seen the score of that game. I mean, good running game always going to complement a good quarterback play. So, hey, at this point, it's Russ' job to lose.
And I mean, I think that I would agree with that as well. Obviously, Russ was the starter technically coming out of training camp. He technically won that job from the jump. So I know people were going back and forth about Justin Fields, because Justin Fields basically hadn't played to lose, if that makes sense. But I don't think he took over the job either, if that makes sense. Right. And like Chris, you mentioned, last week they went over 30, had 32 points last week, and then this past week had 37. So it is interesting to see, like, is the Steelers offense just in general like kind of starting to click, or is that a result of the teams that they play? Because I mean, it's the two teams that are in turmoil, the Devontae Adams teams that he's been a part of. So,
That's
so
crazy.
maybe they just got a personal vendetta against Devontae Adams and everything that he's got going on. Maybe they feel like he should have came over there, but who knows? But moving to the next game, I think I would say outside of that game, the three biggest games were the Green Bay Houston game, obviously the Super Bowl rematch with San Fran and the 49ers, or San Fran and Kansas City, and then finally the divisional game between Minnesota and Detroit. Between the three games, I mean, starting off with the Green Bay Houston, what did you guys think about that one? I there was a point in time that I was like, this is I think I want to say that I took the Texans last week, and I was like, somehow they're gonna have a bad game and they're gonna win, and it looked like that was just exactly how that was gonna play out.
It was playing out just like that.
Well, what did y'all think of the game, and what were some of the takeaways?
I mean, the biggest takeaway of that game is, my God, 86 yards passing. That's tough, because I'm for one would say, I went off on Caleb Williams for only having 90-some yards. He was a rookie. First game of the season, he had like 90 yards passing, but to throw 86 yards, I don't know. Like, it kind of goes back to what you said, Shad, that they were going to be the media darlings, but something was going to happen throughout the year where it's like, it ain't clicking like y'all think it was going to do. But that's what's been turning out. Their games have been very bad. Like, they haven't. Maybe one of their games, but for the most part, most of their games are close, and they pretty much could have lost any one of them. So that's very concerning for a team that, you got your star quarterback. He went crazy his rookie year. You added a veteran receiver and Stephon Diggs, but it seemed like something not clicking with them, and that's very concerning.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically my takeaway with it. Also, along with like Green Bay's defense is looking pretty freaking scary. I'm not gonna lie, they're looking way better than I thought they would. I know Joe Mixon still had 100 yards, which seems like it's automatic now. I think every game he's played, he had 100 yards, damn near. So that's good to see on Houston's side. They gotta match effort all around them though. With blocking, with the receiver play. I know you got Nico out for a couple more weeks, but it is looking a little rough, Chris. Like you said, like, you don't want to come out of the game pass for 86 yards, 4 yards a throw. Like, that's a little ugly.
We're still winning.
Somehow we're still winning. But of course, and that's the next part I want to bring up. Like, Jordan Love's play this year, it hasn't matched what we saw at the end of last year. Towards the end of last year, he was taking care of the ball a lot better in that stretch. This season, I think he's top or bottom 5 technically in interception. I think he has like 8 or something, and he missed 2 games. So, like, that's not a good deal. I mean, I know he had 2 in this game, which, with interceptions, it's always weird. Like, not always the quarterback's fault. I get that, but you got to see a cleaner operation. And you can't set up, your team to lose a game that they should have really been dominating. And that's kind of what I got from that. Like, Jordan Love has to be more careful with the ball and be more clean with it. But that was a great game. It was a great game. Came down to the end. I mean, that's what you like to see. So no complaints on either side. But yes, Houston got some work to do.
Yeah, Houston. I mean, it's not a surprise to me, just because, I mean, that's basically what I've been saying for damn near a year now. It's when we were talking about in the offseason last year, or I won't necessarily say in the offseason, but in the playoffs last year, when everybody was obviously looking for coaches, and Bobby Slowick was, was the top name. Everybody was like, "Oh, it's this great offensive coordinator coming from Houston," and I was like, "Yo, like, they haven't been. I understand that. Well, I don't even want to say CJ Wade. He had a really, really good rookie season. I think a lot of people think because he didn't throw that many, he only threw so few interceptions that people were like, oh, it was crazy. Like it's the greatest rookie season ever. He's going to be a top five quarterback this season. They're going to be Super Bowl champs or whatever, or Super Bowl contenders. And it's like, got to pump the brakes a little bit because he's still a young quarterback, number one. Number two, like the offense is in a whole. I don't even think they're a top 15 offense right now. And statistically, in terms of EPA, I don't think they're a top 15 at all. So it's something that they've got to work on, or at the end of the season, I mean, it might be time to have some tough conversations in terms of the offensive coordinator. Obviously, we'll see how the season plays out, and it very well could put it together. But one of the things that you mentioned is Nico Collins being out, but that was the whole point of the offseason, wasn't it? It was they're getting Tank Dell back. Tank is supposed to be that dog as he was supposed to have such a great rookie season last year. Obviously Stephon Diggs, they said he was a dog and he wasn't washed and this, that, and the third. They also had Robert Woods. They also had Xavier Hutchinson, a young guy, John Mechie. It was they were talking about Houston was supposed to have the best receiving core in terms of depth by far, just like 1 through 6. So it's something to watch, but obviously they've only lost 2 games thus far, still been in it. So I mean, you can't complain when you've only lost 2 games and you're number 1 in the division. And I think they're number 1 or 2, or either 2 or 3 in the conference. So it'll be interesting to see how that played out. But like you said, I mean, you got to take away that Green Bay's defense is something serious. I mean, bringing in a new D coordinator, him taking kind of do you want to say it's an emotion from going from a head coach of a college program to becoming a D coordinator in the NFL. Obviously, we might see more and more of that as the leagues or the NCAA starts to get more and more into the NIL, and those coaches feeling like it's professional, which I don't know why you would complain about it being professional then jump to the pros. I don't know. That's weird to me, but maybe you don't want to have to argue with an 18-year-old that's making more money than you. But,
I mean, that's
but I mean, Jordan Love, I mean, dog. Cass ain't throwing a lot of interceptions, but he also lead the league in touchdowns.
He is.
Was leading the league in touchdowns before last night. I can't remember if Baker took over, but
Baker took it back.
Yeah. But missing 2 games, and I mean, he's that receiving core. I don't even think they fully clicked on offense just yet, and they still. I mean, what a job that LaFleur has been doing with that team, and we'll see if they can continue it. I mean, they've got a tough division. They lost to Minnesota, but they got the Bears coming up a couple times. We'll see them against the Lions, and then obviously a rematch against Minnesota. So we'll see how those games come down to it. But get into the San Fran Kansas City game, another game where, just like I said, Pat was gonna be trash, and somehow they end up winning. I don't want to say he was trash, but yeah, actually he was kind of trash. I ain't gonna lie. But, aside from the biggest plays of the game, obviously both came with his legs. One which I want to get you guys' opinion on this. The sideline play where it looked like he might go out of bounds.
I don't care what he talking about. He capped. I was never going to. Man,
so just to preface it for the listeners, obviously Pat Mahomes he scrambled out, made the greatest linebacker ever, made him fall, made him look silly. I'm just joking. Fred Warner is fine, but made Fred Warner fall, got to the sideline, appeared that he was about to go out of bounds. Some may say that maybe the linemen or the defensive players kind of slowed up, thinking that he was going to go out of bounds, and he takes off for another 20 or so yards. How do you guys feel about that? Do you guys feel that's kind of shady, or as a defensive player, you got to lay him out and just take the penalty if it comes? Like, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that was real cheap. I don't like that shit because it's been years of us seeing, as soon as he touches or even hovers over the white and somebody touches him, they tossing that shit, and you got to argue with it. They got to review it and shit. And I mean, it's kind of similar to that. the fake quarterback slide play. I think that shit is a little cheap. Like I think because the rules around hitting the quarterback are so like fickle now. Like defenders do change their whole pursuit. Like it's a real thing. So when his quarterback like that is running out of bounds, yeah, you're going to slow up. Like yeah, you don't want to lay him out because you don't want to get fined, kicked out the game, some crazy shit like that. So I think it's a little cheap to kind of take advantage of that. Again, it's football, so it is what it is. You got to kind of bend the rules to your, to how you want it. But I don't like that because that's exactly what was going through the defender's head. I know it. Like, okay, we don't want to lay him out on the sideline, so we're gonna slow up pursuit and make sure it's just like a push instead of laying him out. And I mean, if they choose to lay him out from now on, it is. But it's tough to officiate that too as well. So.
I mean, how many games have we seen that, the team had them dead to rights and that play happens and Pat Mahomes get the penalty and now they in field goal range, they win the game.
Yeah.
Like, you're literally taking advantage of what people are trying to teach them. I'm pretty sure coaches is like, hey, when he gets the sideline, hey, just lay off of him. In my opinion, if it's the end of the game, okay. If it's like quarter 1 through 3, lay his ass out. lay his ass out because the slowing up is the same thing with the goal line play. I feel like Mustafa just slowed up. He didn't really put his full like no, lay him out. Like fuck that.
Oh no,
I really don't think he really. He didn't.
He didn't approach it like he was trying to like. Mustafa, how he hits, he would have. And Mustafa came up like this. You know what I mean? Like kind of like. But Pat did lower that shoulder though.
Man, look, let that have been Cam Chancellor or somebody like that. His ass would have got laid the fuck out. I don't want to hear it.
That's different time.
He tiptoeing. No, I'm just saying you got, and I get it. They that's another line. If he would have crossed the goal line, he like laid him out. Might have been a penalty then too. You never know. But I mean, quarter 1 through 3, he on that sideline, lay his ass out. Fuck.
I honestly think. I mean. I don't think it was cheap because if you watch, like if you rewatch the play, the people that were chasing him, one of the D tackles was the one coming from behind. He was kind of loafing. He was just jogging.
Number 90, yeah. He
was just loafing out there. I can't remember who the linebacker was. I want to say it was 53.
53.
I mean, he just kind of overran it. If you're not going to lay him out, at least wrap him up or push him something. Like, it don't have to be a hard push, but like he right at the sideline, like give him a little, hey, just make sure. I mean, I don't think, they don't call the ones unless they're like truly egregious. Like you're hitting them and then you're throwing them down to the ground, or like you're wrapped up a little bit and like I said, you throw them down to the ground, driving them to the Gatorade and shit like that. But I'm like, bro, at the end of the day, like even if it is the mindset, I get it to an extent. But lay him out. Like, I mean,
lay his ass out.
Not to say that it's not to say that I want somebody to be hurt, but if you hurt him for a game, or like maybe like he just leaves it for the rest of the game or for the quarter, you hurt his ribs or something, that still gives you an opportunity. Even if you do get a penalty, now you knock Pat Mahomes out for the game. Once again, I'm not wishing no injuries or like long-term injuries on him, but I mean, a nick and a bruise, shit, that's the name of the game. So I mean,
I feel like if you would have hit him then, like on the sideline, he might not have tried to run up the middle for that touchdown. He might not try to I just got like a toe up. Man.
Exactly.
I ain't trying to do all that.
Fact. It changes the mindset. Change the mindset.
I mean, it really do, because I mean, it feel like them game, like especially a lot of big games. That first kickoff, or with that first kickoff and the returner brings it out and the nigga smack his ass, that shit changed the whole tone of the game. It'd be like,
it's one of them.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like everybody, fans, the team, everybody's like, yo, all right, this is what we getting into. So I mean, I feel like they could have changed, they could have hit his ass, but I mean. Once again, it is a tough position to be in, especially when it's mid-game. You don't know, you really don't know. And the refs were kind of calling some ticky-tacky stuff as well. So But in terms of the game itself, how did you guys feel that it went in terms of Brock's play? Obviously, Pat's play as well. What were some of your takeaways outside of that moment?
I mean, the biggest takeaway, at least for the 49ers' sake, is the injury to Brandon Ayuk. I mean, you already down, Christian McCaffrey, Debo didn't play, and, even, your third receiver, Juwan Jennings, he's out. And so it sucks, but at the same time, they had plenty of opportunities to win the game. They were pretty much in the game the entire time, but I don't know, man. Kyle Shanahan to go against Andy Reid, Pat Mahomes, man, they just start doing silly shit. Just not focused, it seemed like to me. But I mean, like you said, Shy, you called it. Kansas City played ass most of the game, and then somehow, some way, they end up double-digit lead and game over. So
yeah, I mean that's kind of their MO this season. Until the offense kind of picks up and gets a groove going, like lean on their defense. Lean on the run game too a little bit too. It is tough, that Brandon Ayuk injury for San Francisco. And without Debo, I mean, it's kind of been that way the last couple of years. Like Brandon Ayuk is one thing, but when they don't have Debo, it's a totally different offense. It really is. Like, and Kyle Shanahan calls it differently. It's just a whole different look. So it was rough that he was limited to begin with, like even playing like 3 or 4 plays, and then finally just saying nah. But San Francisco is in trouble. That's my takeaway from that game. Like I know we talked about, and we'll talk about it later on this week, the big Sunday night game they got coming up. But like if they don't have a lot of people healthy for that, if Debo doesn't play, you're looking at an uphill battle. And like I know their division is still winnable, I guess you could say. Seattle's not that far ahead of them. So I guess that's one silver lining that they have through all this. Like they can still and so they could still definitely like catch Seattle if they get their shit together. But it's a lot undone for San Francisco right now, and Kansas City just keeps winning. So it just is what it is right now for Kansas City. 6-0, you can't knock it. Like they're finding ways to win, as annoying as it is.
So I got a question for y'all. At what point do we stop saying when the offense catches up? Because it's been 2 years. At what point is it? I mean, obviously, a part of that is a product of it's Andy Reid, it's Pat Mahomes. But at what point do we call it? Not saying we like the three of us, but just at what point is it time to just be like, okay, like it's not just the receivers, it's not just it's not just a funk or whatever you want to call it. It's actually like this offense just is not it. How long do you think before do you think that obviously it's a weird thing to say given the fact that they're all a 2-time winning champion, back-to-back defending champion. But do you think that if they, does it take them losing into the playoffs this year for it to that question or for it to start being that question or what?
I think if they continue to win but lose in the playoffs, it might come awry, but I don't think so. I think it would take them to be have a random 2-3 game losing streak in the regular season and then lose the first round of playoffs. Then it might open people's eyes. But until then, because they keep winning and they keep winning ugly, it doesn't matter. They're just gonna, obviously say, well, it doesn't matter what the offense does. Pat Mahomes gonna make it happen. As long as he on that sideline, doesn't really matter what's going on. But until then, until they get a real live losing streak and then literally losing the playoffs, then hell, it also would be a different story, if they somehow lose the division. I mean, Broncos playing pretty okay, but obviously I'm not gonna say they're gonna win. But it's something like that. It had to take something catastrophic for people to start okay, hold on. Let's really think about this. This offense ain't really been, because I mean, we seen it last year. They wasn't looking good even in the playoffs. You have your moments, but they wasn't looking good last year at all. Mm-hmm. And they're not looking good now. But because they're winning, we're just gonna brush it to the side.
And I think the last 2 years, like Sean mentioned, kind of offers them that that grace. So I think it will take a playoff performance like this where their offense does nothing, and they lose because of it before people really start questioning. Because at the end of the day, if you're undefeated at this point, I mean, that's all. It's all about wins. At the end of the day, it really is all about wins. No matter really how they come. So, yeah, I think it'll take a playoff performance.
I do think at some point, like, I think it'll take a playoff performance as well. And I agree with y'all. But at some point, there has to be like all right, like we can't keep giving them the benefit of the doubt. Like, there's got to be some, because it's, and I get it. It's so tough because, the media is so ring driven that, they got glossy eyes for everything else. Like, if you win a ring, it don't matter how bad you played, how good you played, aside, and if you get there too, I mean, shit, aside from the Eagles, I guess, but the Bengals get some type of good grace for, we've been talking about
every year, boy. When they went to the Super Bowl 2021.
Yeah, and they somehow get more grace than the actual Super Bowl champion that year, which, I mean, they're not doing too hot. We'll talk about them since they're our Thursday night game. But getting into the last game before we get into hot seat, Detroit versus Minnesota. Obviously, that was a very, very close game. Came down to the wire. Came down to a game-winning field goal at the end. Had some crazy plays, including a fumble return that got Minnesota to take the lead. But what did you guys think of the game? How do you guys feel about Jared Goff's play over recent weeks and the outlook for the Lions moving forward? And then also knocking the Vikings off from being one of the last undefeateds.
Yeah, it was that was a good game as well. My biggest takeaway from it is that my coach of the year pick is looking damn good right now. Dan Campbell has really he has that team. He has that team acting right. He has the right message to everybody on that team. Everybody's buying in. You can tell, even with the loss of Hutch, which is tough. We'll see if they do something about it. If they add any pieces. But even with that, like that team is just so you can kind of tell, like, when a team is like really tight, and playing for each other, like you can tell like how bad they want it. And with Jared Goff's play, as long as he's not fucking it up like he did in that Tampa Bay game, which is they only lost this season. Like he's really a damn good quarterback.
Bad game.
Yeah. He's a damn good quarterback. So, I mean, we'll see. Going forward, it seems like Tim Patrick kind of catching on a little bit. Jameson Williams is out for the next couple of games. He didn't do much in this game either. Last couple of games, really. So we'll see kind of like how the receiver core is, with Jared Goff moving forward. But they still got Amon-Ra St. Brown. They still got those two backs. So, I mean, that's my biggest takeaway from it. Like, Detroit is looking damn good.
Man, shout out Jared Goff, man. He's one of the few people that just don't get enough love. I don't know, and for him to be a former first round overall pick is kind of insane how they treat him. But I think my biggest takeaway is, man, the Vikings still look good. I mean, I didn't see that shit coming. I mean, Shad, he said he saw it come with JJ, but we don't know for sure. But I mean, damn, for them to lose a quarterback and Kirk Cousins, who, I mean, did good with them, and for them to have this hot start, and even with their first loss of the season, they had a chance to win still. Like, it was never a situation where, oh, well, y'all were just outclassed. Nah, they came to play, and that defense, I mean, obviously going against the Lions is a different beast, but I still like their defense, and they still got a chance to win the division and being number one in the NFC, and they a tough out for anybody. So shout out to Mike.
Definitely a tough out, and Sam Darnold, it's going to be interesting to see at the end of the season how the season goes. Obviously, if they do make the playoffs, where he ends up, because I mean, I don't think that. I mean, there's a possibility that he stays in Minnesota and they just play the game until it's time. JJ McCarthy is a young quarterback. Was the youngest quarterback, I think, in the draft this past season. So they very well could play it out just to see. and make a decision from there. But it will be interesting to see if he tries to stick in terms of the same like Shanahan offense or Shanahan type, Sean McVay type with KOC, or if he tries to venture off and go into a different type of offense where maybe he might not find as much success. But Jared Goff, I would say right now he's probably, for me, probably tied for two or three in the MVP race right now. I think, well, I don't know how y'all feel, but in my opinion, the clear runaway favorite right now should be Lamar Jackson. After putting on a 5 touchdown performance on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, man, don't short that, man.
Yeah, don't definitely not trying to short him five touchdowns because he was dealing. But man, Jared Goff, only 10 incompletions over the past 3 games is crazy. 7 touchdowns, no interceptions, and he also has a receiving touchdown to go with it as well. It's going to be interesting to see if things change. Tim Patrick has come on in the past couple weeks, but Jameson Williams, it hasn't been officially announced yet, but likely to be out at least a game or two for some PED abuse or whatever the hell it is this time.
Eating that McDonald's with that McFlurry.
They said, hey, that man different. I ain't never seen a nigga eat a McDonald's burger with a McFlurry on it. That shit is different. But he needs to be suspended just for that alone anyway. But with that being said, do you guys feel that Lamar Jackson is kind of the leader in the MVP race right now? Or do you think that Jared Goff is right there with them? How y'all feel about that? Or anybody else?
Yeah, I would say my top 3 definitely Lamar, then Josh Allen, Jared Goff are in the next tier. Kind of, they're a little closer than they are to each other than they are to Lamar right now. Which is crazy. Like this is, huh?
So you ain't got Pat Mahomes. Vegas do.
That was my pick going into the season, but damn, this shit looked bad, boy. So I can't in good conscience sit on here almost halfway through the season and say like Pat Mahomes, but like nah. So those are my top 3. You definitely like what you said on Josh Allen. No picks still. Going into it, the offense still producing. And then, like you just said about Jared Goff, he's playing amazing. But Lamar is on a different level. That offense, like, and I kind of said it last week too. Like after that Washington game, like when they're at their best, man, it's like nothing you can do. And that's kind of what you've seen against the Bucs on Monday night. It's like I said, I knew it was gonna be a bad matchup for the Bucs anyway. That defense has not looked good, and but like this was without Derrick Henry really going off. Like, of course, we saw the first half where he only had like 4 carries or whatever, but they was still dominating that game. And that was because of Lamar. And that's kind of how it's been. Like, Derrick Henry has been a cherry on top for, most of the games, except for like the two that he really went off. Like, he has been the cherry on top. Like, okay, yeah, it's still Lamar's show, though. So it's been good to see out Lamar. It was just crazy that he can get his 3rd MVP. That would be wild. But shout out Lamar. Shout out to Lamar.
And last year, I want to say around this same time we had, or maybe a little bit deeper into the season, just given how the season went in terms of nobody really kind of, establishing themselves as an MVP, the MVP. But Lamar, last year I had a whole dialogue about, he's about to win his 2nd MVP. He could get a ship, and we got to start talking about him as top 10. Well, shit, I'm back with it. If he gets his 3rd MVP and he gets a ship, I'm not talking about right now. I'd probably say we could really. I wouldn't say definitively top 10 right now, but it's if you say he's top 10, that you can't sit here and be like, oh no, like it's a 2-time MVP. At the end of the day, but if he gets a 3rd MVP and he gets a ship, we got to start having top 6 conversation. And
you got to get that ship. You got to get that ship though.
If he gets a ship, even with the 3rd, if he gets a 3rd MVP, it's solidified in my opinion, top 10, no question. But Aaron Rodgers, he gonna start tapping that shoulder like, hey nigga, hey, you right on the cusp of that top 5, top 6. I would probably say the top 5 in no particular order. Fuck it, I'll give my order. My top 5 would probably be Tom Brady, or not Pat Mahomes. Fuck all that. Peyton Manning would be my number 2. Then Pat. Then Joe. Then I'd probably go with Aaron Rodgers as number 5. But that number 6 spot, John Elway. Some people would say Drew Brees. I wouldn't say that Drew Brees is better than Lamar personally. So even though, he obviously has the statistics and the completion percentage, the accuracy, that people love. But I mean, we seen what Lamar doing, bro. Like, and it's funny that we're even having this conversation. This man could possibly, he's the front runner for winning his 3rd MVP. And people are really trying to say, oh, Joe Burrow, CJ Stroud, Justin Herbert, Matt Stafford are better than him. It's just an insane, like, I mean, when are people going to stop trying to put him in a box that he's not in? It's truly, I mean, I guess you could say with the Super Bowl, or even if he gets there, maybe people will start giving him the respect they give Joe Burrow, but we'll see. But getting into the hot seat watch. I would say that, you mentioned that you had Russ on the hot seat watch. Some of the guys that we've had on the hot seat watch have been showing up. I had Kyler on the hot seat watch, obviously not because of his play. But he got him a win in the last game that we seen of the weekend, or the football weekend. But who you guys got on hot seat watch this week, and why?
I'll go first again. Go ahead, Chris.
I was about to say, I don't have a particular person. I got a whole organization on hot seat watch, man.
Ooh.
I got the Dallas Cowboys on hot seat watch. I mean, my God, for a bye week and all the stories, with Jerry Jones just talking up a damn storm. I mean, and now you got some former players talking about how it's just a circus out there. As far as I don't know if y'all seen the story where they was talking about how they have tours every day and people knocking on the glass while you working out. And I mean, and then the aspect of just seeing everybody clamors, telling you, hey, pick up Derrick Henry, pick up Derrick Henry, and he want to go there, and you didn't, and he's just going crazy with Lamar, the Ravens, and your team is not looking good. And so this bye week, usually the bye week, that's the time you're supposed to self-reflect and get right. And like I said, too much noise coming out there. You got a big game, and it's a winnable game at that. I mean, San Francisco is coming in this game beat up. Like, you have to, if you want to make a statement and try to get your team back on track, this is the game to make the statement. They're missing most of their offensive players. They're missing a few defensive players. Like, you have to come in this game and show up. And apparently, obviously also, they're your boogeyman. They've been beating your ass the past few years, so you got to show up this game. So, yeah.
Okay. That's a great one. That's a great one.
Hot seat watch, Dallas.
All right. You better act right, Dallas. I'm sticking to NFCs, and I'm going to go with Danny Dimes. It was a matter of time. But I think that time is here. We saw the drubbing that they had on Sunday, where he got pulled at the end of the game. All right, Danny. This is it. Your coach is getting to that mode where you're fucking up a little bit too much. You're not running the offense that he wants. You're not running the offense how he wants it to be ran. You got to show up. You got to have some. I mean, you were balling for a couple of weeks there, 2-3 weeks. You were solid, but you kind of revert to bad habits. Forcing the ball. Honestly, taking off a little bit too much, but that's kind of how you got your money. So I get that part of it, but just bad decision making. And I know Brian Daboll is feeling the heat himself. He has to, along with that GM. So of course it's going to just rub off to you. That's why he's making those decisions. Like, man, get him out of here. Let's pull him out of here. I think you can see Daniel Jones benching very soon. Very soon. So this is a big one that you have against a good defense in Pittsburgh. I think it's Monday night game. Daniel Jones, let's see what you do. Like, it's gonna be tough. It's not easy, but you gotta be better.
That's tough.
You're on
what we say about that prime time.
Prime time different. That's the exact type of game where it'll be like, all right, that's enough of Daniel Jones, and he'll have to basically force to bench him at that point. So it can go either way, but we'll see.
Everybody watching, Daniel Jones, you are on the hot seat watch. So speaking of Monday night, and speaking of my last hot seat watch guy, which was Kyler Murray, I'm gonna stick with the Monday night game from last week and go with Justin Herbert. I also have a second hot seat watch guy, but I'll get into that. It's a little deeper, and we can have a full discussion about it. But Justin Herbert, same thing. Similar thing, really almost to a T as last week with Kyler Murray. The Chargers have a cake schedule the entire season. Right now, 3-3. He hasn't been bad. He was actually really, really good against the Cardinals, and they just could not get into the end zone for whatever reason. I mean, not whatever reason. The team is not, in terms of the weapons, the receivers, they're not great. I mean, he was getting it done with Will Dissly. Will Dissly occasionally. Lad McConkey. I mean, Will Dissly was supposed to be a breakout candidate with the Russell Wilson Seahawks years ago. He's had nothing but injuries since, and somehow he's popped back up. Jalen Reagor, somehow making plays and fucking up plays at the same time. But Justin Herbert, at some point, obviously Jim Harbaugh probably took that job because you're there. But if the things keep going the way that they are going, where they're not a great team. The team around him, they can't really feel the team around him. Obviously, they'll have some grace to get their contract situations right next year, where some of the money frees up and be able to kind of build the full team that Jim Harbaugh wants to. But if it doesn't happen, if things go bad this year and next year, things aren't necessarily great, at what point do you also have that conversation that I mentioned about Kyler, about Justin Herbert? Not saying that he's a bad quarterback, because I think Justin Herbert's a top 10 quarterback. I would even say probably top 7, top 8. But, if you can't build a team around him, why not get rid of him? Not get rid of him, but why not try to get assets for him to build a full team to actually compete? We'll see if that happens for him. I don't, like I said, just like with the Kyler Murray thing, it's not because he's playing bad or anything like that. It's more of a team as a whole, just in terms of their record. But with him being the star, him being the person that everybody's looking to, you got to be the one to step up and lead this team regardless of whatever's around you. You're on the hot seat watch. But this one, this one's going to be tough because, we've kind of strayed away from the conversation for the most part over the past year or so. And we don't have to get into all the details there, but DeShaun Watson, it's a very tough situation for you. Obviously, he got hurt this past week towards Achilles, out for the season. There's some people that said he got booed, from what it sounded like on the TV. Sounded like he got booed or he got cheered from the fans when he got injured. But there were also some people that were in Cleveland in the game that said that they were actually cheering for him when he showed that he was, good enough to get up and get carted off the field, and kind of rooting for him there. Who knows which is which is true. But there's a strong possibility that we have seen DeShaun Watson play his last NFL game ever. Because, in reality, given the situation with his off-field and, some of his sexual assault or sexual harassment cases, not some, it's a boatload, not funny, but it is a boatload. Who with the contract, obviously they're not going to be able to trade him. They may be able to cut him and just cut their, take their losses with it. But, this is a real important downtime for him where he's gonna have to show some type of contrition, some type of remorse, because I would say that his interviews weren't great when the Browns initially signed him. His interview, I don't want to say It's hard. It's hard
A lot of
because
that was them trying to protect him too by telling him,
yeah,
it's
but I mean,
structure.
even him, he said that he didn't feel like he needed rehab or anything like that, and it's just different things that he said. It's like, all right, bro, like, I get it if you're trying to say that you're not innocent, but it's like you're not innocent, you're not guilty. But when a bunch of stuff starts piling up, it keeps piling up. It doesn't seem like it's, no disrespect, it doesn't seem like it's going to end. It seems like we hear about something every other month. At some point, you're going to have to, if you want to have an NFL career, you're going to have to come out and just be like, look, like, show some type of remorse or something. I don't know what it is. I'm not in that situation, so I don't know. But there is something that has to be done, and if you're going to be on the field again. So, DeShaun Watson, your career is probably over, but you're on the hot seat, like definitely on the hot seat. And I really don't know where he goes or where the Browns go from there.
Yeah, a little bit staying on that a little bit. That's the tough part about his situation because he's getting advice not to admit to anything, obviously, right? And of course, we saw through all the payoffs that happened, like you kind of just want to brush it away. But like you said, like doing something to show remorse or something like that, usually you would see something like kind of what on a different level. I get it, but just for for reference, like what Michael Vick did after all his shit, after everything he went through, he came out and was supporting PETA, and shit like that. That might be something that you have to see from DeShaun Watson, even if you don't want to admit that you actually did anything. Like just supporting those kind of organizations that are geared towards victims of sexual assault, shit like that, community shit. It's been a couple years now. We have nothing. We haven't seen anything. Like, and image is a big thing, especially now. So that's kind of something that you would have expected to see so far. I don't know if he's done it and just it hasn't been publicized. I don't know, but like I agree with that 100%. You got to show something. You know what I mean? You can't just sit there and just disappear for the next year and a half while you rehabbing. If you want to get back into the NFL, you still are the face of this franchise. Whether you like it or not, whether it's good or not,
whether they
you
like
still
it or not.
are. Yeah, whether they like it or not, you are still the face of this franchise, and you have to act so. And of course, a lot was made of his teammates coming out and defending him, which is it's a tough spot that he put them in, and that's kind of where they're living from. And of course, you saw it from Jameis, saw it from Myles Garrett, and I even saw a video from Nick Wright that kind of I don't know if y'all saw that or not, but that kind of alluded to the fact that it was against women why his teammates kind of rally around him. And if it was against children or even men, he would have kind of got ostracized in the locker room. So it's just a lot of talk right now around the whole situation, and it's unfortunate. It's crazy, Chris, that was the game that he popped his fucking Achilles when they came out, and initially it was like, yeah, like basically we're preparing to bench him. Well, basically, like he's gonna get benched in this game, and then boom, he tears his Achilles. Is wild. It's wild that it happened this way, but yeah, it is tough for DeShaun. I will get that, but I mean,
difference I would say with him and Vic was,
I don't know if there's any only differences.
No, well, I ain't mean the only. The biggest difference is prior to his situation or whatever. He went straight to jail, but we seen how Vic was as far as a football player. He came out and he's trying to get back to football. Blah blah blah. Our image of DeShaun Watson as a football player right now is tarnished. Like, he's bad. So I feel like even if he came out and let's just say he did some things in the community, blah blah. If they decide to move on from him, I can't see nobody picking him up.
That's fact.
I just can't. It's been that bad of a play from him as far as dating back to last year. Like, it's just been that bad, and he hasn't shown any kind of like, oh, he could return halfway of what he was in Houston. Like, at this point, if they decide to move on from him, like Shai said, this is the last time I don't even think you even want. I mean, there's no point in even signing him as a backup, to be honest.
I mean, there's no shot he'll be a backup because
that's what I'm saying. So I think at this point, I'm sorry. I think it's just over with for him.
And I mean, it's tough. It's an uncomfortable conversation to have because I mean, you don't want to be insensitive to anybody in terms. And I know that we've kind of laughing and stuff. I would say it's probably laughing more out of uncomfortability more so than like trying to. It's not funny, but
Right.
it's tough, man. And it like you said, it's also as bad as it sounds, when people do bad things, when athletes do bad things, playing well is winning and playing well is always the
cure,
what
really.
helps the cure or like what helps it moving forward. People won't I mean, people are going to remember there are going to be people that are bringing it up, there are going to be people that are heavily affected by it, but a lot of fans really don't care what the guys are like or what the girls are like or the women are like outside of the sport. They just care about what you're doing on the field, on the court, on the ice, whatever, on the pitch, whatever it could possibly be. So, like you said, I mean, I think that's a very important point to also, he's also been just very bad. And then another thing is he's missed a lot of football. He was out of football with obviously the issues. And then when he was asking to be traded, he tore his ACL when he was a rookie. Now it's an Achilles. I want to say that he might have had an ACL injury in college as well. I could be wrong on that, but I mean it's also like, bro, you're not playing well on top, and then you missed all of last season too, basically with a shoulder injury. So I mean, you're also like beat up. You're beat up. You're beat up physically, mentally, in your in your professional life, in your personal life. Like it's rough, man, and you got to show some type of, like I said, remorse. I don't know the perfect word because, like I said, I am not somebody that's gone through that, and I will never go through that. But I don't know, man. It's tough. It's tough. But with that being said, getting into the Thursday night game, start off with our game picks. Go ahead and give us a recap of what last week looked like, and we can go ahead and get into it.
Last week was rough, not gonna lie. We had 7 games that we picked from, and we got a lot of them wrong. We all picked New England, and Jacksonville kind of dominated that game. Not kind of, they did dominate that game. We all picked the Jets, like we mentioned earlier, and Pittsburgh kind of dominated that game. So I had 2 right, only 2 being Denver and Arizona for me, and then Chris, you had 2 right as well. Denver, Baltimore, same thing for you, Shy, but you also had Kansas City. We picked San Francisco. So you had 3 right. So total on the season, I had 25, Chris 24, Shy, you had 20. So it's getting closer.
Slowly but surely.
Yeah.
Starting off with the Thursday night game. Minnesota versus the Rams. Now, there's been a lot of rumors that have been going around about Minnesota and the Rams, and Matthew Stafford possibly be traded to Minnesota. For anybody that's believing those rumors, I got a lot of things I could sell you.
I got an oceanfront property out of
Swear to God. But Minnesota obviously coming off of a tough loss, a close but tough loss. The Rams coming off of a close but seemingly tough win against the Las Vegas Raiders, which that man Antonio Pierce, he's not getting a lot of fans in terms of his game to game, his in game management. And some of his decision making, and obviously some of the things that he said in the media. So he might be on the hot seat watch next week, but we'll see. But Minnesota at the Rams, who you guys got and why?
I mean, I got Minnesota. Like I said earlier, I mean, I'm liking what I'm seeing from them. They're a tough team so far this season, and the Rams are just beat up. Even without the rumor of the fake rumor of Matthew Stafford. I mean, they still have a rumor for trading Cooper Kupp. So they're seeming like more of a seller right now. So I'm just gonna chalk that up as they're trying to salvage whatever they have left going on. So, but I still got Minnesota. winning this dominantly at that.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I got Minnesota in this game. It is a little tough to pick against them because I did have the Rams finishing very good this season, and injuries just crushed
Super
them.
Bowl winner, ain't it?
It's a little rough. It's a little rough. But and on top of that, I think it's really looking like Cooper Kupp is about to get traded. Like it was like the crazy part about it. Like it's a lot of smoke out there. Of course, you can't believe anything, like everything. But he even spoke to it as well. Like that shit is real. I know they're definitely shopping it, so it's very possible he could get traded. He's at the age where obviously we're seeing all these receivers start to get traded at 31, 32. As is what it is for these former top receivers. And yeah, I think they're kind of in sell mode, unfortunately. The writing's on the wall there, and I think kind of goes down from there. I think Minnesota is definitely trying to get some get back from that game, that they probably feel they should have won. And honestly, probably should have. So I got Minnesota.
Yeah, this one honestly was a little bit tougher of a pick for me because I do, even though I obviously have said many times that I thought Minnesota was going to be a little bit better or was going to be good this season with JJ McCarthy, to be specific. I was obviously down on them I almost say down on them, but I was off of them being a good team with Sam Darnold. I do think that at some point they will come down to earth a little bit. They've been the number one defense in the league thus far. Been one of the better offenses in the league thus far as well. Even with Aaron Jones getting nicked and obviously he's come back. He's fully healthy, but I mean that's something that you had to expect with him anyway. I still am rocking with Minnesota, even though it's an away game. The Rams are, even though they are beat up, I do think that this could possibly, the reason that I was like kind of hesitant in terms of picking Minnesota versus the Rams is because I do think that they could possibly be looking at this game as maybe a turning point for their season. And maybe that's why Cooper Kupp hadn't been traded yet. And I also, in terms of, do I think he's going to get traded? I'm not 100% sure he's going to get traded because if they're already talking with him about it, I think in my mind, it just, obviously, we're not in the rooms having the conversations. I'm thinking that they're probably going to stick to, we want a second-round pick. Like, if you're not sending a second-round, at least a second-round pick, or something like conditionally that can make it a second-round pick, we're not giving them away. We're not giving them for a conditional fifth that turns into a four. We're not doing that.
Yeah,
so,
facts. No, that's facts.
And Puka obviously got designated to return from IR this week. He is questionable for tomorrow. I don't think that he's going to play, but I mean, you never know. You never know how healthy he is. But with them getting Cooper Kupp back, I think that it'll be a closer game than a lot of people expect. Sam Darnold, as great as he has been, he's thrown an interception in every single game except for one this season. So he is going to give it away to you. So it's up to the Rams to take advantage of it. I don't know if they have enough offensive firepower right now without both of them being there, Puka and Cooper Kupp. So I went with Minnesota, but I do think that it'll be a close one. But moving to the next game, it'll be a good one. It'll hopefully, because I mean, Thursday nights, man.
Thursday nights. Besides, yeah.
Early on, like the first couple weeks, we was cooking, but it's gone back to the Thursday night. But moving to the next game, a team that seemingly stays in the game picks, the Philadelphia Eagles versus Cincinnati. Who you guys got and why?
I mean, obviously this team. It was a tough pick for me. Both teams are actually trending in a positive direction, especially, Cincinnati with their poor start that they had this year. Eagles been up and down. I'm actually happy that they flexed us out until a 1:00 game because for whatever the fucking reason, them niggas been playing crazy in prime time. I don't know what they got going on, but
next week. I was saying next week for people that didn't know.
No. It was this week and next week. We had the 4:25 game. game of the week.
I thought you were
They
talking about
flipped.
out for
Game of the week.
overtime. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
gotcha.
I kind of put 425 prime.
Game of the
Same
week.
thing.
Same shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
similar. Not exactly the
I
same
know
thing,
what you're
but
saying.
very,
Yeah, it's
very
not
similar.
exactly
Very,
right.
very
Yeah,
similar.
but I'm gonna go with the Eagles. I think it's gonna be a high scoring game. I think both offenses are gonna put up some points. But I think we're going to edge them out. So I'm picking the Eagles.
This is a tough one for me to. Well, not really, but
No, because that's your second team.
No, I do like how they're trending right now. Cincinnati, of course, they haven't played the best competition, and so I think this will be a good test for them, like going forward for sure. And with Philadelphia, I mean, Saquon could wreck the game, and what we saw last week was just complete domination. We didn't really talk about it too much, his return to MetLife, but he was ridiculous that game. And on any given Sunday, he can definitely wreck the game. And that Cincinnati defense is liable to have that happen against them. But I do like where they're trending right now. They're kind of clicking on all three phases of the game these last couple of weeks. So I'm going to go Cincinnati in this one. They are at home, so that kind of helps too. But I think it should be a good game.
Yeah, it should be a good one. And this one was also kind of tough for me because this is another one of these weeks where it's seeming like a lot of my picks are maybe for the away team. But I'm also rocking with the Eagles on this one. It's a small sample size, but since the bye week, the Eagles have the number one defense in the league. They haven't given up a single offensive touchdown. I mean, they haven't given up a touchdown on the defensive end over the past 2 weeks. Obviously, that is given some of the competition that they have, but it is a division game where. And last year we did see that the Giants gave the Eagles some trouble as well. So it's not that is some type of improvement. They've had 13 sacks over the past 2 weeks, which I believe also leads the league as well. One thing that we haven't talked extensively about the Eagles after the first couple of weeks. And a lot of people have been down on the Eagles, especially their defense and saying some things, but their young guys are starting to come around. Nolan Smith has been really good over the past few weeks. Obviously, Jalen Carter, Nakobe Dean has been good. Cooper DeJean, once he got inserted into the lineup, he's been good as well. Obviously, Quinyon Mitchell has been one of the better defensive players. Really, if over these past two games that we talked about, that you could honestly may say they might be the leaders of the defensive rookie of the year race right now, and Jared Verse with the Rams, and then obviously Quinyon Mitchell with the Eagles. I think that continues against the Bengals. Obviously, we saw they weren't great last week against Cincinnati. Against the Browns. But they only won by 7 points. The difference of the game was a kickoff return that happened in the very first play of the game. They obviously were not great against the New York Giants, and then the Giants could score a single touchdown, they probably would have won the game the week prior. So I am not too. I don't want to say that Cincinnati is not trending in the right direction, because obviously they started off very, very poorly in terms of a record, but they were hot offensively. But over the past few weeks, they've been poor offensively, but been winning. So it's kind of weird. So maybe they put it all together this game. I just don't think it happens, because the Eagles defense has been really good over the past few weeks. And their offense is sixth overall over the past couple weeks as well. So
I find it ironic we played the same two opponents the last 2 weeks, though. That is funny.
Yeah, for real. And smack both of them. So, and they had trouble with both of them. So we'll see. But moving to the next game, Buffalo at Seattle. Buffalo coming off of a pretty dominant. Well, both teams honestly coming off of a pretty dominant win this past weekend. Obviously, Buffalo got some help with Amari Cooper coming over there. But who you guys got and why?
I got Buffalo. I think it's gonna be a good game, though. I'm liking what I'm seeing from Seattle. I still don't necessarily fully trust their defense as of right now, but I mean their offense. Geno, he's leading the league in passing yards. He's putting up some numbers. So I think they're gonna be they're gonna be a good team like going forward in general. Do we know if DK is playing at all?
Probably
Not
we don't
100%.
know yet. Probably not though.
Okay, well, either way, I'm still going with Buffalo. I'm looking to see him and Josh Allen and Amari, building some more chemistry together, and I think they're gonna get the win.
Yeah, I'm going Buffalo too. Kind of the same reasons. I don't think Seattle's defense is as good as it needs to be. We'll see if Tariq Woolen comes back for this game. He missed last week, of course, and then they, of course, like we mentioned earlier, they just traded for Ernest Jones. And they just traded for Ernest Jones, which definitely can help their linebacker core out, which has not been the best. Is a good way of putting it this season. But I think Buffalo's offense will be a little bit too much for Seattle. If you look at the game that they just before they were on a 3-game losing streak, like we all know, and then they got this win against Atlanta. Atlanta moved the ball pretty well against them. It was a lot of turnovers that they got that they didn't have during that losing streak. They didn't create during that losing streak. Of course, they had like 3 that game, and up to that point, they had 4 on the season, and that was all kind of in the beginning of the season. So, Atlanta was moving the ball up. Of course, they made mistakes. They forced mistakes from their side. Of course, they had a defensive touchdown, which always helps. But I think Buffalo's offense, as long as Josh Allen continues what he's doing and not turning the ball over, I think they can handle this game.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, this is tough because now it's 3 straight picks. I'm already in away games, or picking the away team. I'm also going with Buffalo. I just don't. I think Seattle's a good team, but they're a good team because Geno, really, more than anything, Geno has been carrying them and making them relevant really over the past really since he's taken over as a starter for Russell Wilson. Geno was, even last week, he was the one really making a lot of plays. One big play that comes to mind was like a 3rd and 7. The Falcons got pressure on him, scrambles out. He hits Noah Fant in the middle of the field on a short route. Noah takes it for like 30, 40 yards. And it's just plays that he's been making the entire season. I think that without DK, it gets incredibly tough because I don't think that the offense has been great in terms of how they call plays. Obviously, how they protect their offensive line hasn't been great. And I think it's weird because this is one of those games where Buffalo would do a bunch of dumb shit just to keep them around and then somehow end up winning in the end. But Buffalo has been one of the better scoring defenses and just better defenses in the league this season. So I just think that without DK, it's going to be tough for Seattle to put up points, and Buffalo ends up taking it in the end. But getting into the next game. So this one is also kind of tough because it's a possibility that we're not going to get the marquee game that we really want. But given how the offense has been playing, it's you kind of have to put them in there. Chicago at Washington, possibly the first opportunity that we get to see the number 1 overall pick in Caleb Williams go against the number 2 overall pick in Jaden Daniels. The injury that I mentioned at the top was Jaden Daniels. He got nicked, hurt his ribs on I want to say the first play of the game. And Marcus Mariota took over for him and ended up dominating the Panthers anyway. But who you guys got and why?
Yeah, it's a tough one. Like you said, with the possibility of Jaden Daniels not playing. I'm gonna still go with Washington.
Okay.
I don't know why, to be honest with you. I shouldn't, but I think I think that even with Marcus Mariota, he was able to run that offense pretty smoothly. I understand, albeit against the Panthers, but I feel like they kind of got a similar skill set. He can scramble, he can run that kind of offense, the same that Jaden Daniels run. Now they're going to get Chicago, which is a tough defense, but I think they can be had. So I'm gonna get a nod to the Commanders.
I'm gonna go with Chicago in this one because of that defense. Like you said, I would have picked Chicago either way. If they're going against Jaden or Marcus Mariota, whoever plays that game, they're coming out the bye, which I think is and they went into the bye with some momentum, which is helpful for a rookie quarterback. So coming out of the bye, and Keenan Allen should be a little healthier. Roma Dunze should be a little healthier. So I think Chicago could get this one. I know it's they're on a road too, huh? but I'm gonna go Chicago on this one. I think they pull it out.
Warriors.
Yeah.
Road Warriors, man. So yeah, this one same. I mean, this one's tough because you don't know if Jaden Daniels is going to play. But Marcus Mariota, obviously, they put up like 40 points last week. I mean, he still came in and did his thing. And they might be able to open up the offense a little bit more with Marcus Mariota than they have been doing with Jaden Daniels. Not to say that Jaden Daniels is because he can't, but obviously they're getting the easy button plays for him first before they open up the full offense to him. So I'm still but I'm gonna rock with Chicago for my fourth away team thus far. This already got me in trouble a few weeks ago, so we'll see if it gets me in trouble again. But I'm going with Chicago. Similar reasons. I think the defense continues to play well against Washington. I think that it's a closer game, regardless of if if Jaden Daniels or Marcus Mariota is the starter. But I do think that we see Caleb kind of get off in this one. He goes for about 2 touchdowns, probably like 250. And we probably see the first big game between him and DJ Moore. So I'm rocking with Chicago in this one, and sticking with the Road Warriors for 4 right now. But getting into the Sunday night game, this one's going to be probably the biggest game of the week, even though it probably shouldn't be the biggest game of the week. But there's going to be a lot of questions. This is the first. I want to say this is probably the first time of the past few years that both teams are kind of in disarray a bit. So that'll make for a lot more storylines, especially coming out of the game. But Dallas at San Francisco, who you guys got and why?
This is tough. I think this is a get right game for, like I said earlier, for Dallas. I think 49ers being banged up. Dallas coming off a bye week. They got to get that stank off them. They got to get that funk off them. Really, both teams, to be honest with you. So I'm going San Francisco. Fuck all that. I can't pick Dallas. Hell nah. But I think it's gonna be a good game. I think regardless of if Dallas win or lose, I don't think they're gonna get blown out like they've been getting blown out by them. I think they're gonna put up a fight, but I think ultimately San Francisco is gonna come out on top.
Yeah, this one wasn't really tough for me. I just truly do not think Dallas is a good team. And I don't think the bye week can help that. I don't think Micah coming back will help that much if he comes back this game. I think this is a big defensive day for San Francisco. I think Fred comes up huge in this one. I think they want it more. They kind of need it more. You don't want to go to fall to 3-5 after this week. That would not be a good look. Going forward the rest of the season. So I think San Francisco pulls this one out. And then we hear about more crap from Dallas all week, but that's every week. So
definitely every week. And it's interesting because following this game, this would probably be the type of game where you would think that a coach firing would follow. But with that being said, they just coming off of a bye week. So do you really want to fire a coach? Following the bye week, you typically would do that before or maybe during.
Before the bye.
But I'm rocking with San Fran. I'm not. This is my first one that's not a Road Warrior, but Dallas has been a bottom 3 defense in the league this year. Obviously we've seen their issues with the running game, not only this year but the past few years. And as Chris mentioned at the beginning, earlier on the show, there's been a bunch coming out of a bye week, and the first thing you hear is last week it was Jerry Jones. He had his issues with the radio host, talking about he was going to fire him. This week there's bombshell stories. I don't if bombshell stories about them having tours and It's, you've got quotes from former players. I know Dante Fowler came out and said it was cap, that he never said that, but I feel like that's cap, and he probably did say that. But he didn't think it was his name might be attached to that. But or maybe he was saying it in like a funny way more so than he was saying it in a negative way. But you have stuff like that come out. Then you also have stuff with Mike McCarthy. I want to say Dak and a couple of the captains all came together and were like, practices haven't been right. There has been low intensity practices. We don't think, that we're practicing like a team that, how a team should be practicing. Well, shit, if you feel that way, then it's probably not your season, and I said at the beginning of the season, I thought Dallas was going to have a bad season, and a lot of these noisy teams were going to have bad seasons. I think that continues. San Francisco's run game hasn't been good. Really this season, it hasn't been great. I don't want to say it's been bad, but it's been closer to the bottom than it has been to the top, especially the past few weeks. And so I think that this is a game that they need, that they get right. Ricky Pearsall got an opportunity to play last week. So I think that we see him make some noise this week, as well as Jacob Cowing, especially if Debo doesn't play, which I think he might end up playing in maybe, kind of a decoy role more than anything. But like I said, I think San Fran gets this one in a big win on Sunday Night Football at home. And then moving to the final game of the week, the Giants at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh with the back-to-back primetime game. Obviously, Russ is Mike Tomlin's playing a game where he hasn't announced it specifically, but we all can assume that Russ is going to be the starter this week. But who you guys got and why?
Man, I got the Steelers. Man, like Cass was mentioned earlier, man. Just the Giants in general. They're just in a down spiral. I mean, their defense is actually not that bad. I mean, they lead the league in sacks, but outside of their front seven, their back four, or however you want to call it, they're not really that good. They're young. They're just young. I'm not gonna just say they're not good, but that offense is bad. I mean, outside of playmaker and Malik Neighbors, I mean, they don't really have much going for them in my opinion. So I think the Steelers gonna win this one.
Yeah, I got Pittsburgh as well at home. It's pretty much the same reasons you said, Chris. Like, the Giants defense is good, and this will be the game where they can really disrupt Russ if Pittsburgh offensive line, is not right, and we could see bad Russ. But I also think we might see bad Daniel Jones on the flip side of that. It is interesting. There was just an update. John Mara, their owner, came out and said that he's not making any changes in the offseason to GM or coach. And I honestly, I think that kind of lends to even more into my hot seat with Daniel Jones. Because now, if they're feeling, more secure going into next season, they really don't give a fuck about about benching Daniel Jones now and kind of going forward. So, hot seat Daniel Jones, it is very, very hot now. So yeah, I got Pittsburgh in this one at home though.
Yeah, this one was this one was tough because I like you guys said, I mean, I think you guys hit it on the head. I mean, their defense is solid. I mean, especially their D-line. Obviously, Dexter Lawrence is leading the league in sacks from the nose tackle position, not even just D tackle, nose tackle position, which is insane. So I really wanted to go with the Giants, but with the Pittsburgh defense being as strong as it is, I just don't think that they'll pull through and be able to score enough points or get in the paint enough. And Russ, obviously, I don't think that Russ is great, but 264 yards, 3 touchdowns in your debut, that'll do. 1 rushing. Pickens went for 111 yards. Like we talked about earlier, Najee also went for 100 yards. So when you're getting that kind of production from the 3 kind of main people that you want on offense, I mean, you can't complain about that. Obviously, they scored the most points that they've scored in the last 4 years last week. So I don't know if that's is that an offensive explosion or the offense starting to click for the Pittsburgh Steelers, or are the Jets really that bad this time, or now? But I want to say, given the Mara update, I actually like it because I do think that they put together a pretty good team. Even Daniel Jones, I don't think I've never thought Daniel Jones was terrible, but I don't think he's obviously not good. But I like their receiving core. I talked about it in the offseason, in the preview. Wan'Dale Robinson, he's got, I want to say he leads the league in targets, but that nigga don't get no yards because obviously Danny
he leads in receptions, I think.
And
it's like 44th in yards.
Is what I meant. Yeah. But Malik Neighbors obviously is eating, and Jalen Hyatt hasn't necessarily done too much. I do think that they found something in Tyrone Tracy. We'll see how he continues to progress at the running back position, but and then Theo Johnson's also hasn't been bad as well at the tight end position. So they've got weapons, they've got a D line, they've got a somewhat of a foundation. Their O line is terrible, but and it's probably going to get worse with Andrew Thomas being out for the rest of the season. So it will be a sight to see if they do. This would probably be the game if they do bench him, prime time. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm rocking with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and regrettably, because I don't like to bet with Russ. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, but I'm rocking with the Pittsburgh Steelers on this one. So that kind of gives us a wrap for the game picks of the week. Before we sign off, got a few questions for y'all. So we talked about it a little bit with Cooper Kupp. Do you guys think that he ultimately gets traded, and if so, where would you like to see him?
There's been a lot of, I think he does get traded, but I think, like you said earlier, and I'm with the same mindset. This Thursday night game will show you. If they win this game, I don't think he gets traded. If they lose this game, very highly likely he gets traded. As far as destinations, of course, there's been smoke about, I won't say smoke, but like talk on Twitter from fans about Buccaneers. Of course, they have a need now with Chris Godwin out, for the season. Mike Evans kind of, limping his way through the season with that hamstring injury. I would personally hate it because I think Baker with Cooper Kupp could get very dangerous. And then there's smoke about Pittsburgh as well. And out of those two, I don't really see anywhere else you can really go and kind of be in a position to have kind of those incentives that are usually not, conditions, I guess you could say, that are usually attached to these players nowadays. I would probably say the Buccaneers would probably be the best spot. I don't think they make the move though. I don't know, but I would like to see the Buccaneers.
We'll see. What say you, Chris?
I don't know if it's the best spot, but honestly, I would love for him to stay in LA, but play for the Chargers. I think that would be a good fit for him, and I think Justin Herbert that'll give him another great elite pass catcher. I mean, like Shai was saying, he put him on the hot seat. That might actually let their offense take off. So I would like to see that.
Yeah, that's actually where I was going with it as well. Sticking in LA, they might be willing to. I don't know. Maybe not necessarily a 2, but they might be willing to do the 3 and a conditional 3. And that it might be a little redundant with Lab McConkey, but I also think that both of them could win and play outside if they want to. And then I think that kind of would complete their receiving core. Because I mean that would make obviously Hugh J hasn't, after the first couple of weeks, he hadn't really done too much, but he's also been hurt. Didn't play this last week. They did get DJ Chark back, and then Joshua Palmer. He continues to be just I would say a number 3 at no disrespect to him, number 3 receiver, but I would love to see that. Obviously, he wouldn't have to move far. Could stay in the California weather, especially for somebody that has so many soft tissue injuries as he does. So I would like to see that as well. But outside of Cooper Kupp, is there anybody else that you guys think big name or semi-big name that you guys think will get moved before the trade deadline? Because we have seen a lot of movement, over the past couple of weeks. Obviously, mostly at receiver. We talked about the linebackers with Ernest Jones and Jerome Baker, but anybody else that you guys see with a big name getting moved?
It depends on how their season continues. But another name, it might not be too big, but I feel little whispers about Trey Hendrickson from Cincinnati. Good edge rusher. I mean, he's getting up there in age, but I mean, he's still making plays. He's still sacking the quarterback at a good rate. So I could see somebody, giving him a little call, trying to get him out of there.
Sure.
There's been a lot of talk about those edge rushers, right? Max Crosby, Myles Garrett, and to the point where I don't think either of those really happened. I would say out of the two,
Max has already said he's not going. So
right.
Just
out of the two, definitely it would be Myles Garrett, because of his age getting up there and because of their situation in general. If they want to pivot, as an organization and just go younger and rebuild that, but I don't see people giving up the assets from Myles Garrett that they would probably want. So honestly, I don't see many big names getting traded at this trade deadline. I think a lot. I think we've probably seen the biggest names, honestly. Yeah, it'll probably be some stuff around the edges. Like we see Tennessee might be in sell mode. So would they be willing to trade a player like Harold Landry, who's having a good season? Stuff around the edges. Zadarius Smith, his name has been, in a lot of talks as well for edge help with Detroit, and stuff like that. So I think we see like players like that, but nothing like no stars, I don't think.
Okay. That'll be interesting. Tennessee is in sell mode, which is, it's funny given how hard they went in the offseason. It is what it is, and it is what it is. We'll see we'll see if they continue on. But I mean, I don't necessarily. It's hard to say like in sell mode completely because Ernest Jones was somebody that they brought in like a week or like a couple days before the season started, and then D Hop. I mean, he hasn't been effective this year, and obviously I don't know if you guys saw, but there was a little clip that went viral where he was. I want to say one of the offensive play callers was. Maybe calling a play or something like that. He was giving a side eye like, yeah, that shit trash. So I don't, the writing might have been on the wall over there, but sticking in the AFC South, Christian Kirk, Jacksonville at this point, they obviously reeled off a win this past week, but bringing in Gabe Davis, Christian Kirk got hurt last year. He was a top target for Trevor Lawrence. Obviously, when he first joined on, and everybody was like, "Oh, this is a bad, free agent contract. This, that, and the third." And he continued to prove people wrong. In my opinion, he was super productive. But it seems that Trevor has found a guy or somebody that he's found a guy in Brian Thomas who's been taken off, been one of the best receivers in the league, definitely one of the best rookie receivers this season, and then sticking in the same team, Travis Etienne. You could say Tank Bigsby. In my opinion, Tank Bigsby has always been better than Travis Etienne since last year. If you kind of watch their games, he's always kind of been the better runner of the two. Obviously, Travis Etienne also offers the versatility of being a pass catcher. But with him being out this past week, and then them still playing pretty well, having a pretty good rushing attack, I could see if Dallas were to win this week, and they felt like things were to turn around, maybe Travis Etienne. They didn't pick up his fifth-year option. I believe he would be somebody that Dallas would be like, hey, we could pick him up. This would be a good mid-season trade for a running back that we could also sign long-term if necessary. So those would be two people that I would look at in terms of, I guess, bigger names. I wouldn't say they're huge names, but we'll see. I honestly thought Christian Kirk, if Kansas City was going to trade for somebody, Christian Kirk would have been it. And I think Christian Kirk would, if he would have went to Kansas City, he would have went in crazy over there. So, we'll see.
Yeah.
But final thing before we sign off, we got to touch on basketball a little bit. We got to see Bron and Bronny finally, share the court together. It was a, I don't know. To me, it was a big moment. Obviously, LeBron has been my favorite player for most of my life. I'm a Cavs fan as well. So it was a pretty cool moment for me to see. And, any, I'm sure it was a pretty cool moment for a lot of fathers as well. I'm not a father, but we'll see one day, maybe down the road. What'd you guys feel about that? Did you guys feel that it was, how do you feel about that? And then the conversation that has been today from that, in terms of it being manufactured and not being a special moment, blah, blah, blah.
I mean,
I think honestly, and I know it's cool to have them attend, but I think having Ken Griffey Senior and Junior come to that game kind of made it worse in a way. As far as like the backlash that you're hearing today about it all being manufactured and all that stuff. Because when they announced they were coming to the game, it was like, oh, okay, yeah, they're definitely going to play together. They have to, what I mean? They're definitely going to do it. It was for 3 minutes, so inconsequential, especially since they won. But I mean, I don't think it's a big deal, but people are making it. It is what it is. Like we already talked about this at length throughout the draft process, how nepotism is. It is what in sports, and it just is what it is. And it just happens to be happening to one of the most popular players in all the sports. It's going to be a lot of pushback from both sides. So yeah. I don't think it's a big deal, but yeah, I think that was the main thing that kind of had it like, wow, this is so fake, this is so manufactured because they came to the game and of course had a photo op and all that stuff. So, but it was cool. I do like that the clip that was released of him like talking to Bronny before they got in, talking about like asking if you ready, kind of giving him a little bit like last minute tips. I think Bronny has a long road ahead of him to become an actual rotation player. I definitely think he's up for it, but he has a lot of work to do. But what better way to do that, than with your dad? So,
say you, Chris.
I mean, yeah, it was manufactured, but I mean, so what? I mean, I feel like you had no choice because this would have been a story for the rest of the year. When they're going to play together, when they're going to go on the court together. I can't wait to see it. Now that happened, you can maybe now focus on, like Cass said, it might be a long road for Bronny, but you get to focus on trying to develop, maybe even get him in the G League or whatnot, just to get him some more, development in general. But like Cass said, he was only on the court for 3 minutes. Shit didn't change the damn game. They still won the game. It was the first game of the season, man. That shit don't matter. Like, so what? I mean, it's the first game of the season. Like it's 80. You got 81 more games. So what that they did this for a photo op or whatever the case may be. I mean, like
82 with the in season tournament.
Oh,
they make
it
to the championship again,
right? And it's like just the idea of, again, you play on the same court as your dad. Like, I mean, obviously, like we joked in our group, like if he would have made that shot, I mean, the world would have been on fucking fire at that point. So you can't, that would have been crazy. But I mean,
we would have seen that clip everywhere. They would still be running that clip.
It was a cool moment. So for all them folks out there, they just don't like LeBron, which is cool. We already know it. So whatever.
Yeah, it'd been like that.
Yeah. we already knew that. But yeah, it was cool. Like I said, but it's just funny. Like you said, it didn't matter. It's funny how everybody's like, the NBA don't matter, until the playoffs, blah, 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 blah. The NBA don't matter till the trade deadline or the All-Star break, but we up in arms about a 3 minute. I ain't never heard so much dialogue about a random nigga getting 3 minutes in the game and then getting taken right back the fuck out. Like, but same thing. I mean, we talked about it during the draft. Everybody was up in arms about him being a second or getting drafted in the second round, but you also got the niggas on the NBA the draft talk about, I don't even know who this player is. Well, fuck.
You can't tell me who went 10 picks before him or 10 picks after him, but you sitting there mad at that.
You can't be getting up in arms if you don't even respect the players enough to know their names or their game, but you want to be up in arms to be like, oh, somebody else deserved a chance. All right, whatever. So yeah, it was pretty cool. It was a good opening night. Obviously, it's ironic, obviously, on a Celtics banner night that the Lakers may have, I don't know, we'll see how the ratings look, but may have also stolen a little bit of the thunder, there, just given the rivalry. But Pretty cool opening night in the NBA. Glad that everything is back. Back in the swing of things. NBA back. NFL really getting into the nitty gritty. We'll get into it next week as we get closer and closer to the trade deadline. Get into the midway point of the season next week, and we'll catch y'all then.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.